out. You're honking at me.
Pulling out our guns.
I know, right? I'm like, no, they're communicating.
Carjacked.
That is something interesting. Is that way in Greece too?
Oh.
Grecian traffic.
I want to go to Greece.
Greco-Roman.
I went years and years ago, but
Really?
it's very different. Yeah.
Oh.
Today's episode is made possible by our therapy partners, Dirty, B, Myra, and Pickets.
Heck yeah.
From fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, this is Pod Therapy. Real people, real problems, and real therapists holding real rocks. You can submit your
Yes.
questions
Mine's
anonymously at
magic.
podtherapy.net or
Special
email us at
rocks.
podtherapyguys@gmail.com. And now broadcasting from the Turn, that's the man formerly known as Dr. Jim. That's Whitney.
Damn
I'm
it.
Nick. It's time for some Pod Therapy.
My rock looks like a meatball, kind of.
Don't
You
eat
should
it.
eat it.
Don't eat it. Nick, you should me don't eat
It's very chewy.
What's it taste like, Jim?
It tastes like
Lick it.
truth and
Lick it.
perspective.
Not
I bet it's sweet. I bet it tastes like
Don't
Rocky
lick-
Road.
Don't like Jacob's Rock.
Welcome to Pod Therapy. This is
tastes like
the last
negativity.
episode before we enter into. Yeah, I know. Weren't you supposed to be not negative since you put that rock up your butt?
No,
It's
not working.
Weird. That is so weird.
Yeah.
One didn't work. He needs another one.
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
Give me a bigger rock.
2 rocks, baby. 2
Whitney
rocks.
just got these out of the parking lot.
I shined them up real nice for you.
Just from the parking lot.
Shot him up, turn him sideways, shove him up your ass.
That is clearly a cactus, Whitney. No. This one's really good for your
cactus stone.
chakras. So this is the last episode before Mental Health Awareness Month.
What?
I
was unaware.
Now you are.
Now you
Nobody should be caught unaware. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and a lot of things are going down in May. We have got Scoop Fest here in
Yeah.
fabulous Las Vegas, the 10th, 11th, and 12th, where we get to meet a whole bunch of you that are coming down.
Oh, it
We
I
are
just
looking
break out in
forward to that.
hives every time I think about it.
Yes, you do, and give them to the rest of us,
Yep.
just like you did at
That's
the last
right.
Scoop Fest. So that's coming up. Also in May at a to-be-determined day, we will be doing our annual Reddit Ask Me Anything, where we just give free advice to the
Wow.
world and
Time again.
usually meet a whole lot of new friends. And that's kind of our big annual effort to advertise the show and show the world what we do. Many of you found us through the Reddit AMAs throughout the years, but we do them every May, and that's a lot of fun, and we'll give you more information as we close in on a date for that. And we're doing our annual fundraiser, and this year we have a very special little fundraiser that we are doing. We have custom Funko Pops, little figurines of each host on the show.
3 of us do.
Yeah.
I have one. It's not here.
So he claims.
But they will see them when they listen to this episode. You can go onto our social media, and you will see that we have posted pictures of our Funkos.
Just so we're clear, we were supposed to bring the Funkos to the studio tonight.
Who
See,
else
the
has to do
photograph
that?
them.
don't know anything.
Jim sent out a text message
Christ
earlier
almighty.
today to the 3 of us, reminding us,
Yeah.
make sure you bring those Funkos
Because
into the,
I
in the
needed to
studio.
get them from you so I could take the picture.
Somebody forgot to bring
I
theirs.
don't need to bring mine because I don't want to take a picture with that table. I want to take
Yeah,
a
you
good
meant to
one.
bring it. You meant to
Stories,
bring them.
stories definitely changing.
Whatever. Anyway, go onto our social media or to our website. It'll probably be on the website as well. We are going to be having a raffle. You can win the entire Pod Therapy host set of Funkos. We will even sign them if you want us to or not if you don't.
They do look, the 3 that I can see right now look really good.
They look exactly
They're
like
really
us.
cute.
Yeah.
They're really fun, and
At
you can
some
check
point,
out the photos.
Because we all have the outfits that we're in as well.
Yeah.
And so at some point we need to take a picture with us in the outfits.
which we very well
with
might
the,
do
with
at
the
Scoop
Funkos.
Fest. That could happen. So
Yeah.
I'm not doing it at Scoop Fest.
definitely will not be happening.
It's not. We're not adding things to my list at
That's
Scoop
true.
Fest.
Yeah.
You have way
I'm
too
Jacob
much
gets
I'm
a
not
pass.
bringing you a wardrobe change.
No more commitments. This is true.
Will you bring the beer?
I think
The beer
you
will
can count
hold
on
it.
him for that. He'll
Yeah.
commit to that. Maybe the dogs. But yeah, so stand by as we roll into May. We are going to be announcing how you can buy raffle tickets. We're still kind of figuring out how to do that online.
If you're coming to Scoop Fest, you'll be able to buy them at Scoop Fest.
Yes, we will literally just take your money there and
Yep.
give you tickets. And then we'll do a live drawing at the end of May, and it's winner take all. You can have the entire set, this collectible set, one of a kind. We made them ourselves or ordered them ourselves. They're custom.
We designed them ourselves.
We did design them. That's true. But
The
They,
the
they
one
are
thing we
worth
missed on.
tens of dollars.
Yeah.
yes.
The one thing that we definitely missed on is we each designed our own. We should have designed each other.
I
Oh,
know.
yeah.
no.
Yeah,
It was already too late by the
Missed
time we thought of that.
opportunity.
But yeah, we're aware that got missed.
Yeah, next year.
Nick's would have looked the same.
But you can win the whole set. So it'll be one winner take all, but unlimited purchases of raffle tickets, and we'll give you more information about how to do that in May, but all the money will be donated to a mental health charity of our choice.
It's us.
Historically, it's been NAMI. Yeah, we need to also make ourselves a nonprofit
charity.
really quick. Historically, it's been NAMI. This year, we've got other suggestions from listeners, and so we're always listening to find out if there's a good charity out there that we can take care of during Mental Health Awareness Month. But if you want to support a good charity and maybe win some one-of-a-kind show merch, just keep dialing in because the information is going to be forthcoming. It isn't May yet, so I can just prelude this stuff. But we've got some great questions in today's episode to share with you. Wow, I'm reading over the script and you really wrote out, that's the man formerly known as Dr. Jim.
Yeah, that's how I remember to say it every week.
He said it last week.
Otherwise,
He said that it was in the script last week.
Yeah, it is. I
I listen to
verify.
Nick.
thank
You do.
Thank you, Jake.
What? Who's talking?
It's a
That was
ghost.
fun.
Thank
you.
Who's attacking me?
Who is this man?
Negative energy.
First question. Yeah, I know. Yeah, this buttstone is doing nothing.
Yeah, these stones are bullshit, dude.
I'm regretting this
I think
already.
mine's just a kidney stone. I don't think there's anything magic
That is
about this shit.
horrific if that's a kidney stone.
Just I'm very concerned.
I mean, that's like
God.
the size of a golf ball.
At least a ping pong ball.
An elephant kidney stone. All right, first question. Politics
forget.
in therapy from Tonka Truck the Pony. Hey, Pod Therapy, I saw your Discord post looking for questions, so I thought I'd throw this one on and help others too as we enter this election season. By the way, thank you for your response to my finding a therapist question the other day. I was literally laughing out loud as I listened to your reactions about the drugging situation, and I feel with you, Jim. Other therapists on the internet are an experience. So, speaking of other therapists, my question kind of keeps with the theme of values imposition. I'm 99.99% sure none of my clients, oh, by the way, Tonka Truck is a therapist. That should probably be out there. I'm 99.99% sure none of my clients nor coworkers know my political views. And if asked, I'm guessing they would say they are whatever theirs are. I try really hard to be very careful about this. It was brought to my attention in one of my counselor education and supervision PhD classes a few weeks ago that at the Association for Counselor Education and Supervision Ethics Conference, a speaker lectured how politics can no longer be kept, quote, out of the therapy room, as by being apolitical. We are not being advocates for our clients. I wanted to jump through the screen and lose my shit.
Wait,
as
what?
to
So by being apolitical,
Like
Yeah.
neutral.
they're
So
not
by-
being
Neutral
advocates
presenting.
for their clients.
At a conference, a lecturer told all the therapists that the days of us being non-political are over. That in order to advocate for our clients, there's the quack. There's the quack. He's got it. Yeah, we want to be advocates for our clients. I wanted to jump through the screen and lose my shit as to all the reasons why this is so unethical, but I digress. It felt like it opened the floodgates for bringing politics and especially believing one side of the political spectrum is the only correct one into the classroom as well. This general vibe has been my biggest issue in my doctoral program. The entire program so far has caused me to honestly dread it. Last summer, I went on an entire tirade on Discord about this, and it was read on the show. Anyway, I've noticed as we start to get closer to the election this fall, politics is slowly creeping to become a common topic everywhere again. I actually personally really enjoy politics, learning about it, truly understanding it, volunteering, etc. My perspective is we all have something to learn from both sides, and having opposite views and perspectives help encourage balance. However, while I'm very moderate, I do tend to lean conservative based on the actual definition of a conservative, which is, and now Tonka actually gives us the definition, conservatism in the United States is based on a belief of limited government, individualism, traditionalism, and limited federal government power, end quote.
I like that, though.
That-
Tonka says,
Thank you.
I think of myself as conservative, and then he tells us what he thinks conservative is. Now we know that about Tonka. That's
Yeah.
great.
I have come to this through research, self-reflection, and life experiences. I've noticed that many fellow students and professors very regularly make comments, both explicitly and not, which villainize anyone who may possibly align with this view in any way. It basically feels as though if anyone finds out I lean more in the direction of conservatism, I'm instantly labeled an idiot, bigoted, and a Nazi racist.
Because they don't know your definition of it.
Yeah, also because of that swastika you wear. I think that's honestly
unrelated.
The fashion choices, those are unrelated, but related. I never speak up.
You look boss. You go boss. History joke.
Yes. I never speak up in class when these comments or jokes are made, but I've seen when others say anything which could paint the other side of the political spectrum in a negative light or question anything about the trueness and correctness of this. They are slammed, called unethical, etc. It feels extremely inauthentic participating in class and honestly scary at times. It has majorly negatively impacted my experience in the program and education already. An example is being encouraged to write hate mail, yes, the professor used those words, to lawmakers as advocacy hours, which feels very wrong to me. I'm really concerned as we head into the late summer and fall that this will get worse. I guess on both sides. The hateful rhetoric and narratives are out of control. It's an actual conversation. If an actual conversation was had, I think many would be shocked as to how similar many views are from different places on the political spectrum. Anyway, my question is really how to deal with this. I know I cannot go to the program head, as she is one who has been a bit of the problem. I understand I cannot control anyone else, but I'm wondering if you all have any suggestions for boundaries I could actually set if conversations get out of control in classes without getting kicked out of my program. Also, even with keeping my head down and mouth shut, how can I internally help address the feelings that come up when my classmates and professors villainize and label an entire group of humans who I happen to be a part of? Sigh. Any ideas? Thanks, M. And on Discord, Tonka Truck, the pony, she, her.
Ooh, the
Yeah,
political
buddy.
climate is so
Well,
tough.
okay. It has been tough the last 4 years. I think it's tough.
8.
8. That's probably true. That's God damn.
Jacob,
10.
8.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
Jacob.
I'm just thinking back to when I was in graduate school. And that's almost, 16 years ago.
So were your programs and Tonka Truck is in a doctoral program, but did a master's and is a practicing clinician. And I think that the same problems exist in every level. I don't think that there's a special separation where the doctoral programs are harder. This politics stuff is dripping in everywhere. Was that your experiences in grad school? Was it political?
For me, yes, a little bit, but I feel like our program handled it as well as any program could. So I'm getting a master's in social work. Okay. So there was, part of the program was clinically based, but another large part of the program was looking at social welfare, looking at politics and how political climates influence society and groups and individuals. So there's a heavy focus on just awareness of how public policy affects.
So you were studying
that
the
we work
system
with.
itself.
Yes.
Here's how the system can be influenced
Yes.
to macroscopically affect mental health in communities. But they weren't telling you, and therefore you should vote Democrat.
No, but we had open discussions about stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, and you have to remember, this is, okay, so
62, 64.
so I started my program in 2003. So this is after 9/11.
Nixon
Yeah.
had just
We're getting
been born.
into we're getting into Iraq.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff going on, right? And then so we're talking about, government funding and what government's funding and stuff like that. And I think that's a lot of it is important. And I think you can have that discussion. I do agree with Tonka in the sense that when you start just labeling stuff and not actually having a discussion, then that's not productive.
Right.
But I think there's value in being able to have this discussion about like, hey, this side of the aisle wants to propose this legislation. How is this going to affect the people that we work with?
Okay.
How will this impact access to services? How will this, and really start looking at, that piece. And I do think that is something that we should be responsible for.
We the profession.
Yeah. Now, I don't necessarily think that we need to go out and we need to necessarily, we should not bring that into the therapy session.
That's an important distinction.
Yes, very, very important.
Yeah.
That's not something that we need to have conversations with our clients about and say, hey, client, make sure you vote for so-and-so because they're doing X, Y, and Z.
Right.
I don't think that's appropriate at all.
But the profession itself can say, we as a profession have come together, discussed a particular policy.
Yeah, if I'm part of a group.
And the National Social Workers Administration
or,
said we should probably vote for this.
I'm part of a group of drug and alcohol counselors, and there is one party that wants to make opioid reversal medication free and accessible. I'm for that.
Right. And the profession might agree with itself to say, let's advocate and lobby.
And I think,
for that.
hey, we could save a lot of people's lives if we are able to do this. I think we have the right and we have the responsibility to advocate for things like that.
To the powers.
But
not evangelize the position to the clients.
But because that's now now we're changing the relationship. That's not a therapeutic relationship. And so there has to be a separation, but I don't think that because we're clinicians, we can just completely wash our hands of all politics.
That's very persuasive. Was your program political? Out in Pew Pew, Texas?
I know. I was just going to say, I feel like...
well, we were all issued a revolver.
Yeah, if we're going into school, you have to have it.
We got tattoos of the Second Amendment.
Yep. I was going to ask where Tonka is from. I'm kind of curious, or like regionally.
I don't know. I know that Tonka has a horse.
Okay.
So the therapist's name is
that
M.
narrows it down.
The pony. Yeah. I'm like the pony.
So we're actually going to do a deep dive. So Tonka.
On Tonka.
So M is the therapist, and M has a pony named Tonka.
Okay.
And M does like show with like the pony, and also does equine therapy.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm actually going to interview M, and we're going to do a whole deep dive on equine therapy.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I wonder how much of an effect that
M's
has.
in Illinois. Yeah.
Illinois. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, horse. That's why I was thinking, because they have horses in
I just
Illinois.
happen to know that M is in Illinois, but yeah.
Now I get it.
The horse thing is also there.
Because I was thinking while Nick was sharing, I was like trying to comb through ages and ages ago, when I was in grad school, and many moons. I don't remember politics being a heavy, or what party of politics are going on, like whether it's Republican or Democrat, since those are the only two parties that exist in this country, apparently. That wasn't really pushed upon us, or we weren't told you have to like vote a certain way to represent social work, because it was a social work program. And the only thing that came to mind, though, I had one professor, but it was like one of those not like, this sounds bad, not real professors, but she had a master's degree and did something else, but was like teaching one class or whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember her talking about politics in a way that she shared that she was more liberal and her husband was more conservative, and she spoke in class one day about like the dynamics at home that can have, and I don't know, which sounds kind of weird now, but at the time it was like an interesting take, because I definitely remember thinking, wow, like y'all can be married and like have different political beliefs. Like that was a thought in my head at the time. But yeah, I think in Texas, with most people being very conservative, definitely the macro level, thinking back, this is an assumption, but I feel like the macro level professors seem to be more liberal and my more direct practice professors seem to probably be more conservative, and that is totally assumptive, but it's interesting looking at that dynamic too.
It's interesting because you both bring up good points here about the different kinds of interactions that you have. Like, Nick, your point about can the professions sit down and advocate for policy that we believe is improving our profession or is in the best interest of mental health or our patients, like accessing care, So, like, I like that idea. And so, like, the social workers have a national association. Mm-hmm. There's the professional counselor one, the ACA. There's the psychologists. And I like the idea of members of a profession coming together to advocate for laws and policies and politics and making recommendations. I always think that's problematic because there's going to be a cohort of your members who are like, oh, no, this group does not speak for me, but I'm a member anyway, and this gets tricky. So I think that they have to, like, kind of take it policy by policy and not just come out and be like, nope, we just vote Democrat. That's the way it is. Yeah. Like, no, inform elected people about specific policies and why your organization thinks that's good. So, like, I see that value, and that to me doesn't violate anything. The second idea of, like, professors in a grad school, I feel like I'm more likely to give them a pass because their profession is an educator. That is your profession. Your business card says this. Yeah. Your ethical standards are not the clinical ethical standards. That's not what you're doing today. You're teaching therapy. That's fine. You can teach ethical standards. That's fine. Mm-hmm. But your code that you answer to with your HR is a different code. You're an educator at a university. There's a different code for that. And there's like a very strong, tradition of like universities being thought places and free speech and like, okay, great. So like, I think I'll allow that to some extent. I think that would also make you a bad professor. I don't think it'd be very effective if you're training people that are supposed to be impartial, ideologically, and you're really infusing in them an entire worldview and really encouraging them. Well, so go ahead.
But I guess, yes, the way you phrase it, I agree with you. However, there are other ways of bringing that up and having that discussion.
Right.
So, because I think one of the great things, the thing that I really enjoyed about graduate school, for anybody who hasn't, there's a big difference between a bachelor's degree and a master's degree. And the big thing for me that I noticed.
Spelled differently, for one thing.
That helps.
It's pretty big.
Yes. And then B, master's is much easier to say.
Yeah.
Than
bachelor's.
It just sounds.
How do you spell it?
Baccalaureate.
I'm
very confusing.
I'm never sure if I'm supposed to roll the R.
And doctorates are great until you lose them in gambling.
Bachelor.
Thank you.
Bachelor.
But the other thing, though, too, is like, in your bachelor's degree, you show up for class and you sit there and take notes. In your master's degree, you can't do that.
Right.
You got to show up and you have to be prepared to talk.
Right.
But not only that, but you have to be able to form a logical argument.
Right.
You have to be able to defend your ideas.
Exactly. And I think that is a great way that at least in my program, how we discussed politics, we didn't discuss parties.
Right.
We discussed specific policies.
Right.
That were being brought up. And sometimes it was brought up by Democrats and sometimes it was brought up by Republicans. Like there wasn't any situation where like, these people are the bad people. Right. These people are the good people. It was, here's the policy. Let's discuss this.
Right.
And it's all about, can you make a logical argument? Can you defend your position?
Right.
And I think that that's very important. And then kind of going back to what Tonka was talking about, where it's, if you go out and you come across, or you're in this discussion and somebody says, well, these people are just fucking idiots.
Right.
Okay, well, then you're not forming.
It's not a very persuasive
it's not
position.
Exactly. You're not winning anybody over. You're not defending your argument. And so I think it is very beneficial to have some of those discussions if you're having those discussions.
Right. I mean, where I kind of, and so I'm with you on that. So like, I think I'm agreeing that the profession advocating in politics, there's value to that. That's fine. The trainers of the profession discussing politics with students has value when it's framed the way you're doing it. Mm-hmm. But I also get a little edgy about it whenever it's like, I, the student, have paid ass loads of tuition to learn to be a therapist. And if you come in here and start talking about fucking abortion rights in Arizona or whatever the hot topic is of the day, you're denying me my education.
Well, what's the class you're taking?
Right, but if it's going to be a curriculum class that's for licensure, it's not going to be about discussing the politics of the day. It's going to be like counseling skills 101.
But again, in a social work class, it
might be. It might be. So, but that's right.
The difference.
And so class by class. But that's the beef that I start to have is like, if I'm supposed to be the educator and I'm being entrusted with curriculum that's meant to train a clinical skill or whatever's clinically required to do the job of the therapist, I would prefer that professional, that educator, really start to embody the same kind of persona that you're needing to be as a therapist.
Yeah.
And that really comes to like the third area of real estate here. Should therapists be political? Fucking no. Like, and it's wrong. And like when I hear Tonka talk about CEUs where the trainer's getting up and saying, the days are over, we got to get up there and teach all of our clients politics. Fuck you. No, you don't. I mean, I did that whole series of 7 Deadly Sins. When I did the values violation one, I quoted every single ethical code in every single profession that does clinical work in America, and went ahead and showed you in the PowerPoint, this is where in your code this is forbidden. And then also showed, here's every founder of every major psychotherapy theory, and here's quotes from them explaining this is forbidden. And by the way, many states outlaw it as well. And there's really good fucking reasons for that, because you and I, just as therapists, we don't fucking know better. Like, we don't get to decide this shit. And we're way too dangerous for the social engineering of the world. And also, it does no fucking good for your patient. Because if you're like out there believing you have to evangelize everybody into your tribe, your religion, your politics, there's going to be so many people you are now unqualified to help. And like, that really bothers me.
I have a question.
Thank you for raising your hand.
I know. I was like, I'm going to raise the hand, take it back.
If your question is, do any of those rules apply to podcast hosts? No, they don't.
Also, life coaches are immune.
Oh, okay.
They have diplomatic immunity.
That's true.
As representatives of Molossia.
We have those little flags on the front of our cars.
Yeah, that's right. When they drive around. Yeah.
If a client is in your office and you find that they have a similar view as you do you validate that in any way, or do you stay completely neutral? I know. Yeah. I was like, I
will catch myself, and then I have to be careful because that can very quickly become this gab fest. And now we're not doing therapy, right? But yeah, and like,
I bet he still charges for it.
There's definitely a gray area. Like I'm comfortable with therapists self-disclosing, right? So like on their websites, they might say something like, "Look, I'm LGBTQ," and like, okay, and then I think that's valuable because I think an informed consent is being established there, where the patient says, "That's important to me. I need that."
Yeah.
Right. And I think it's just as fine whenever a therapist says, "I come from the LDS," church.
I'm like a Christian.
I'm Muslim.
Therapist,
I'm Christian.
Or
it's
whatever.
like, okay, or just sharing their background, right? And so like some people would say, "Well, you're right there broadcasting values." I'd say, "No, you're self-identifying. That's very different than imposing values and beliefs, which is what the code forbids."
Yeah, I was going to ask your thoughts.
That's
on
where
that.
it goes too far. You can't do that.
But my question though is like, what about your? Don't you see that there's a separation between your work life and your private life?
Oh yeah, 100%.
So I mean, because I definitely agree as far as you don't bring that into the therapy session.
But you can be political.
Yes. If you are a member of a party and you follow politics and you want to volunteer for your party to
100
campus or do whatever, you absolutely should.
Well, and that's what Tonka Truck says. Tonka says, "Hey, I'm a very political woman. I really believe in voting. I volunteer. But I will withhold that from my therapy work." Yeah. And that's why Tonka was saying my patients couldn't tell you what party I'm in.
Yeah.
And my colleagues really couldn't tell you. They would all probably say that Tonka agrees with me. And that, I think, is the mark of a really excellent therapist.
Sure, totally.
So I guess you could say there's kind of 3 rooms, right? There's the therapy room with your patients.
The champagne
room. There
room.
is the professional membership room.
Right.
And then there's your private room.
The office.
Private life.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I got confused.
Yeah. So I guess what I'm saying is from my perspective, 2 out of those 3, I think it's absolutely fine for you to be political.
Yes.
And have opinions and share those opinions. There's one room that you cannot bring that into.
What I disagree with is what the professor or the lecturer told Tonka, that we can no longer keep politics out of the therapy session.
Yeah,
that is an infringement.
Now, see, and I guess that's where I would want some more information. Like, is that what they were saying? Is that they can't keep?
I don't understand. I don't understand somebody even saying that.
Well, yeah, because it's so. I disagree.
Watch
with
us
it.
keep it out of it. Like we just won't talk about it.
I disagree with it so much that it's making me question, is that what they meant?
But this is what's been insane about the profession, because what Tonka's saying is absolutely happening on a nationwide scale. And I'm seeing this stuff all the time, which is why I had to make a video about it. Like, I had to do a lot of research on how infringing this has been.
Because I could see somebody at a conference making the argument I just made about that middle room, which is advocate. As a profession.
Right. Be an advocate. Yeah.
With all of us as we talk with each other.
So this is happening on all sides.
I can see someone saying, it's just impossible to keep this out completely.
Yeah, and that'd be fine.
But advocating to bring it more
activistic.
That's so odd to me.
It does exist in some places, and this would be the most obvious example. This example, you'd go, oh, sure, I know that exists. Religious ones, where they go, can we bow our heads and pray? Well, I'm an atheist. Well, I think that's something we need to take a look at, Nick. Do we really need to do that?
Can you bow your head and close your eyes and pretend?
I realize that right now you think you're an atheist, but I think whenever you come to appreciate our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, you'll feel this will actually help your depression. So that's really obvious, right? You hear that and you go, well, that's just fucking unethical. But it's the same ethical violation as somebody on the very liberal side, and that's kind of what Tonka's sharing, is that a conservative, is a little frustrated because right now there has been kind of a big liberalism move where it's like, it's under big flags like decolonization, like we're going to decolonize therapy, and that's great. Deconstructing thought, asking yourself, how has imperialism influenced Western thought? How has science been kind of ruled by the patriarchy and the white man? Excellent questions. Let's have those conversations in the school, right? In the academy, at our professional conferences. Let's discuss and let's get better at this. But there's a movement of therapists who want to come into therapy and be like, we are going to talk about how you have been oppressed by society and particular political influences, and how Donald Trump's hurting you, and part of your angst.
Yeah, but
you need to access your just rage at society and vote, and that's too much.
I just want to not be afraid of spiders.
Right? Yeah. But again, I'm really scared my wife thinks my penis is small. I know that's what you think.
Just pray about it.
But that's really just your suppressed white guilt.
That's what CNN wants you to think.
It's getting weird out there.
Are you thinking that Tonka is saying that this person, I know that we're now into third hand.
Yeah.
So if I were to go into this person's office for a session and said, whatever it is that I'm here to talk about, and are you saying that this therapist would then turn around and say to me, let's talk about Donald Trump?
Yes.
Let's talk about politics.
Yes.
Because you're being, I know as your therapist, you were being bothered by the policies that Donald Trump wants to
here's
enact.
A real world example. My Patreon installment for this week was reading a thread from Reddit called Ask a Therapist.
We know, we listen.
We're all over it.
Yeah. It was reading a thread.
I'm listening to it right now.
I need that login password.
Yeah. A patient in this Reddit thread was upset that their therapist had been really political. And things that the therapist was saying was like, oh, what'd you have for lunch today? And the patient would say Chick-fil-A. And they'd be like, oh, I will never eat there. That place is homophobic. It's terrible. And this person's like, okay. And, and then they're like, oh, did you, how are you, you bought a new car. What'd you buy? A Tesla. Well, I would never buy that. Elon Musk is a fascist.
Yes.
So that's way too much.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then getting very preachy, saying, oh, Ron DeSantis is going to, do this and that, and we need to be vigilant. And the other person's like, okay, but I'm here to talk about my anxiety.
In fairness, Ron DeSantis is going to do this and that.
And thus and then.
You are 100% right, and I agree with you. And that is shitty on the therapist part on two fronts.
Yeah.
Okay. Number one, bringing politics into it.
Right.
Even if you take that and remove it, it's still bad clinical practice.
Oh yeah,
right.
Clinical work.
Because here's the thing:
not
not even the self-disclosure.
Really?
Change it to anything else.
Right.
Instead of a Tesla, Jim is my patient. He comes in. He's like, yeah, I just bought a brand new Ford Fusion.
Right.
And then my response is, oh, I would never buy one of those. The head gaskets go out on those all the time.
Right. Just being a dick. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Because what I'm doing is I'm shaming you.
You're shaming me.
Like,
it's already just bad clinical
work.
You're
an idiot.
Even if you take the politics out.
Right.
It's
But
shitty.
there was an example that, because Jacob was asking for an example. And another example has been, and there's tons of these online now.
Both right.
You'll have somebody come into therapy, and let's say average white guy comes into therapy, and
I would never.
There are situations where the therapist says something like, you know what? We need to talk about your privilege.
You're welcome.
And it's like, but I'm here to talk about my depression. Like, your depression is attached to your white privilege. As
you
a
have
man
so much
and as
privilege.
White person,
You are privileged
we
to
need
be
to
depressed.
talk about how you need to embrace anti-racism, and only by doing that will you, achieve enlightenment. So this is not uncommon. It is saturating modern
I don't know
therapy.
what I would do if someone said this is how you could achieve enlightenment with a straight face to me.
So do you remember that podcast?
I gave you the rock. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember that podcast, Very Bad Therapy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guested on that show, and that was they read me a story that somebody had called into their show with, and that was exactly what had happened. Was this person said that they were a therapist / shaman.
Yeah.
And that they were there to help you achieve enlightenment.
Yeah.
And it was all politics and spirituality. And we had to talk on that show
I feel like this person wears a lot of leather.
why was this very bad therapy?
Why haven't we
Linen.
referred to you as
Lot
a
of linen.
shaman?
We can get that on the card.
Yeah.
Life coach and shaman.
Life coach
Tonka wants some
shaman.
advice,
yeah.
not just about is this a good idea or
Yeah.
bad idea, but also how to respond when colleagues are pushing this down your throat.
Yeah.
You consider just carrying a duck call around with you?
We can send one. I know my first thought, I was kind of rereading through the last bit to make sure they didn't mention this already, but my first thought was trying to talk to a professor. You meant a professor on the side. I'm going to jump backwards in a second. But talk to your professor on the side and kind of mention like what your perspective is, and just have that conversation privately, like maybe not in front of your fellow students if you feel like you're going to get attacked or stones thrown at you, like special gemstones that were given to you.
Did you say Jim or Gem?
I think you said gemstone.
Oh, this is a gemstone? Am I supposed to throw this at Jim?
special
I think
gemstone.
so. Yeah, we're supposed to throw it.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Don't throw stones at Jim. No, Jacob, it was a joke.
It will
was a turn
alleviate
of
my
phrase.
negative energy.
It's supposed to absorb your negative energy.
We've gone back 2,000 years, back to stoning people.
I was just thinking, I forgot Jacob throws shit at Jim.
Yeah. You can't just throw that in front of him. He'll just do it.
He's like,
As you're
excellent.
having this conversation with your professor,
Wrist rocket or something.
do you come at do you? Because part of me is thinking like I would want to
I wouldn't
ask
maybe
the
go
question
all in.
like
What
what is the
if?
purpose of this? Like what are we meant to do with this? Because like I guess that's kind of where I'd want to go with it, is like, okay, so if we have these discussions and we say this group of people are all morons, this group has it right. Where are we getting? Like, are we moving forward at all with any of this?
I say don't even try to talk. So I don't think try to talk to the professor. I don't think try to talk to the colleagues. You're a
No, I
student.
won't talk to the college.
Oh, no,
You're
Yeah.
so disempowered.
I think
like
this
you're
is
not
a
going to
case of
change
keep
it.
your head down and get through it.
I say shut the fuck
Get
up
that
and
piece of paper.
graduate, and then get on with your career.
Yeah.
And then do it the right way when you exit the
you
building.
may
That's
be
it.
you may be right, and I probably wouldn't do it.
You probably would talk. You'd
Yeah.
probably say something.
I would push back because I know me. I know I'd handle the
Such a
situation.
sassy bitch.
I would,
That's why they call him Sassy Bitch Tangeman. That's what's on his business card.
I would
Nick Tangeman.
I would keep going back
Sassy
to
bitch.
this idea of like, okay, give me an argument.
Yeah.
Give
Yeah,
me
I
an
would-
if you want to have a conversation
I think
about
they're
policy,
going to mob on you.
give me an argument.
No, just the one perfect. That's where or even going at it maybe tentatively, like approaching the professor in office hours or after class and be like, hey, if someone were more conservative, like obviously
Right.
they're going to probably assume it's you,
Right.
but you don't have to tell them exactly what that is, you know.
You could try to reason with the professor.
No, you're not reasoning. You're there to learn. You're paying for that class. Fuck yeah, I'm gonna go ask them
Right.
what should I do in that situation, or what should
Yeah.
a person who is more conservative leaning like do in that position. What's their role as a therapist now that I'm in this PhD, master, whatever
Right.
program? Like I've made it this far, and I care about people, and
Mhm.
and they'll probably just say become a Democrat. I don't know, but like.
Change your politics.
And just say, okay, and then you can go back the F off.
It,
Like-
it really has gotten out of control because, and I'm seeing this everywhere, where at the professor level and in your grad schools, they're teaching them in order to be an ethical therapist, you need to educate your patient about and then insert whatever their political theories are.
Oh, I hate that.
So you've got to teach them about their privilege. You got to teach them about anti-racism, and it tends toward a liberal bias. Or if you go out into very religious communities, they're like, you need to find a way to get them to Jesus. And it's like, no, that's why we have goddamn ethical codes. It's supposed to be about the patient and their presenting problem, and you need to get your ass the fuck out of this and just make it about them.
I will say this, Tonka, that because this does go over into like other areas of collegiate education. For instance, theater and entertainment, all of that stuff. This is getting heavily into, a lot of touring comedians won't play colleges anymore because of, all the politics and everything of that. And, when I go and work college every so often, I'm told, thankfully I don't have to deal with this really much of anything ever, but I'm told that a lot of the students are now in this mindset of kind of like what I'm only bringing this up because it's kind of been danced around a little bit here. And that is, you're paying for the education. That doesn't mean that you necessarily have a right to dictate what that should look like.
Yeah, it should be the truth or whatever.
No, I mean, you are paying for
an education.
You're paying for what you're getting.
Yeah,
like you're already getting exactly what you're paying for.
That's true.
That does not give you any kind of right to go to the university, the professor, any of those things, and say, this is the way you're supposed to be teaching me.
I don't like students
they're just
pushing back.
They're just not going to do it.
Yeah.
But I think there is an argument to be said. Like, again, you can divorce all this from politics and just say, I'm here trying to learn how to be a therapist. That has a very clear definition in this state.
Right.
And here's the ethical code that this profession answers to. And my professors are directing me to violate that code. That is problematic.
Sure.
And that is fair. Like, if you had a professor who's like, guys, I've really studied this idea of like somatic psychotherapy, which involves touching and like massaging your client and unleashing their inner sexuality.
Oh, that's what my therapist's been doing.
Oh, this is a real fucking thing. And if there was a professor saying that, and they were like, it's very, fringy, it's out there, but it's really important, guys, and I believe the best ethic. Okay, then it's very obvious you're directing and teaching me to violate ethical codes that I would lose my license for obeying you on. Yeah. I should be able to tell the dean or the department head of like, come the fuck on. And like that's the problem that I think a lot of these universities have started doing. And graduate education stuff, CEU shit, is they're teaching therapists that that's the right fucking thing to do.
No. I just want to play devil's advocate for 1 second.
Nick loves the devil.
I do.
Great movie.
Thank you.
Hold that rock while you say it.
Yeah.
Play this fiddle while you say it.
Loud voices don't necessarily imply large numbers. Okay.
Oh, that's true.
So I
put that on a t-shirt.
Done.
Bait shop.
Because this is the thing. Like I as people are listening to this show,
right,
by the hundreds of millions, I assume.
Ooh, yes.
I don't want people to hear this and hear us saying that this is all through academia,
right,
and this is
everywhere.
Because we don't know that.
No.
I agree with you. We are hearing a lot of it.
Yeah,
but again, just because it's loud doesn't mean it's all over the place.
It's more than I'm comfortable with.
Absolutely, sure. And we should definitely deal with it, but I don't want to dissuade anybody who's thinking about pursuing a career in this, that you shouldn't go to college because colleges are just manipulating. Right. Or colleges are misleading. I don't think that's the case. No. I do honestly believe the majority of programs do a really good job of teaching ethically and not pushing things on other people.
I do think that now more than ever, you really have to spend some time shopping your programs just to make sure that if they're out there dog whistling, that they have certain perspectives and they're going to teach them. Like I have I'm cagey about it. My little sister is in therapy school and she selected a religious school. And we talked about that because that is not her. She's not a religious person. Huh. And so she was like, I was like, well, why are you picking this school? And she's like, I did my research on it. I interviewed the staff. I interviewed the people. I tried to find out, are you going to teach me to be a religious therapist? Or is this a quality therapy school that was founded by a religious group? Like that can exist. There's lots of, like Yale was founded from a religious group. Sure. Like it can be that. And so she was happily convinced that they were, just a very quality certified program. Everybody on staff were real gods, like clinicians out there, like licensed in the world. They just happened to be founded in religious ideas. That was where they started. Cool. And so, like, great, but she did a research, kick the tires on that. And I think more than ever, you really have to do that.
She also gets a lot of street cred for turning him to atheism.
Yeah. That's
so
bonus
it's kind
points.
of a challenge.
That's
When you can break
agenda.
in and start getting people from the inside.
Well, and let's be real. By the time you finish grad school, I mean, I barely remember a few things that my there's a few things that stick out in particular, maybe like 3 professors I can think of. And the rest, you're going to learn from your practicum and just who you are ethically as a therapist and a clinician. And there's so many different clinicians out there.
Right.
You can do whatever the fuck you want ethically
I
once
have
you're done.
So I have a weird test, I don't know, anecdote, idea, thought puzzle that I give
All
to a lot of
different
therapists.
but yeah.
Thank you. They are. So when I talk to students about this, sometimes they'll tell me, and I appreciate the honesty. I'm fine because they're babies. They need to learn this stuff. And I'm very comfortable with a student telling me, I'm having a hard time dealing with this particular patient because I am this worldview. And this person is not my worldview.
Yeah.
And this is a problem for me. And I've heard this every which way, right? I've heard them say, I believe biblically that homosexuality is a sin and the patient I'm seeing is homosexual. How do I help them, right? And it's like, okay, great. Thank you for coming to me with this.
Yeah.
Because you could easily fuck this up.
Yes.
So let's talk about what your ethical code says, how you need to be trained, and how you need to do your own internal work to get over your fucking hangups so you could serve this person.
Yeah.
And the thing I always try to challenge therapists with, regardless of what their move is, if they're liberal, treating, a Trumper, is could you be Hitler's therapist? And you need to think about that because you're calling
currently.
Yeah, dead Hitler.
John Hitler?
Yeah, John. Yeah, your neighbor. If I teleported you back in time,
Adolf Johnson,
and you lived in Germany, and Adolf Hitler comes in, and you believe just as you do now,
wait,
that he's
you
a
have the
fucking
ability
monster.
to teleport me back in time, and you're sending me back to Nazi Germany?
For this
Take
thought
that.
experiment, could you be Hitler's
Seems mean.
therapist, and could you be effective? And that's a really quality question because if you're really taking this code seriously and the profession seriously, it doesn't matter who that human is, how toxic their beliefs are, how misguided or upside down they are. You should be able to sit down and say, my job is to heal the person on the couch, and that's it. And not tell them that they're wrong or not try to talk them out of their politics. Now, obviously, a human who's going to be responsible for murder, you would at least call the police. But, this is problematic, but it's a good thought experiment because most people would say, oh, Hitler was wrong. It's like, okay, but could you treat him? It's like, well, why would I? Because he's a human. He's a patient. And you and I are not in the business of figuring out who's right. We're in the business of curing mental illness.
Yes.
That's what we do.
Preach.
Surgeons shouldn't sit there and be like, oh, I'm not going to pull a bullet out of this guy's chest because he's a bad guy. No, you're the surgeon. Pull it out of his fucking chest and let the judge decide who the bad guys are.
Well, although I did see a good episode on House.
House. I was was that the one with the LL Cool J?
Yeah.
Yes, I just watched
Was LL
that
Cool
the
J
other
the
day.
doctor?
No,
Was he the guy that got shot?
he was the bad guy.
Oh, man. I didn't want that to be the case.
I know.
Wow, House. Way
I've
to
never
reinforce
watched that show. I
stereotypes.
watched it from the start, and I just watched that episode.
All right, we got to move on with this
Okay,
damn
yeah.
episode. Thank you, Tonka Truck, for getting me all riled up. We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're talking about how to talk to people. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Ben Don Leah, Richard Macy, Sonny Boy, University Jeff, Samantha Cone, Thunder, Cougar, Falcon, Scoop, Slurpee Kaye, Motherfucker, and Sandra McWaffle. And if you would like to sponsor the show, head on over to patreon.com/therapy and sign up to become a Theraproducer. What's our trivia, Jim?
Oh, shit, is it me?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Does he
I've
read
got it. I've got
The
it.
emails.
Always on
He does not read
standby.
emails. He does not.
Oh, did you say that in the
Yes,
email?
I did.
Oh, wow.
Then
Okay.
read emails, then respond to text.
Just my
Doesn't
bad.
bring the Funko.
All right, here we go.
Funko,
Doesn't
even though he
follow
said
his
he was-
own instructions.
Yep.
Jesus Christ. All right. These
My favorite was last week when we were all four texting, and then Jim texted Nick privately, and then Nick relayed the message to the rest of us.
That was an odd one.
It's because I'm in... forget it. All right.
You created an extra step.
We all know that there are brands that become more popular than the product, and eventually you associate the product with the brand.
Kleenex.
Kleenex is a good example, okay? Or Q-tips, right? So these are
Chapstick.
4 options. One of them is a brand, not the product, and you have to figure out which of these 4 is the brand, not the product. The other ones are actual products.
Great.
And they're all
Okay.
categorized, okay? First group, and I always list them just alphabetically, assuming I can usually get the alphabet correct. Diesel, gasoline, kerosene, propane.
So we're supposed to
You got
tell
to pick
you
the one that you think is a brand, not the product.
Okay.
Because one of them is a brand.
Diesel, gasoline,
kerosene, propane.
Kerosene.
One on kerosene. Diesel, gasoline, kerosene, propane.
and I feel like it's diesel. I'll go diesel.
I'll say propane.
And one for propane. The correct answer, kerosene.
Hey!
Kerosene was a brand, not the actual product.
Woo.
Next set. So Nick's up by 100. You also get 100 points for every correct answer.
Cool.
Yep.
Sweet.
A lot of points. Next set. Carpet, laminate, linoleum, vinyl.
Linoleum.
No.
No?
Vinyl?
No, it's linoleum.
Oh, I was like, what?
I was like, that, okay.
You just all go fuck yourselves. How about that? Next set.
We're all tied at 500.
Yes.
Wait, what?
Yep.
Everybody's winning. Yay. Next set. Last one. Badminton, pickleball, ping pong, squash.
Ping pong.
Wait, this is the what?
It's a brand, not the product. Badminton, pickleball, ping pong, squash.
Yeah, ping pong. Because it's table tennis.
Are you both on ping pong?
Yeah.
Yep.
Badminton, squash,
I'll go badminton.
pickleball. Going badminton.
Yeah.
It is ping pong, and
All right.
Whitney's logic is actually right
This is table
because
tennis.
the legal
Yeah.
name is table tennis.
Yes.
But ping pong was a brand.
I thought that might be a trick question, and that might be that like ping pong was a vaguely racist, just kind of term for table tennis,
Why?
but not necessarily
Why?
a brand. I mean, I'll explain it if you'd like.
No, we're good. We're good. we're really fine with it. It's fine.
Tap out.
So the points stand with Jacob with 100, Whitney with 200, and Nick with 200.
Three.
How did you get 3? Did you get them all?
Because I answered all three of them correct.
300. All right. So Nick slightly in the lead. Next question. How to
Stay
talk
tuned for the next round when all values are tripled.
yeah, fuck this game. How to talk to people from Cyberscoop. Hello, pod therapist and Dr. Life Coach Jacob.
Thank you.
God damn it. I'm 36 years old, and I've always been a quiet person. Especially in company, I tend to sit back and listen, only sometimes making a comment or a joke. I don't feel uncomfortable then, which is why I like podcasts so much, I guess. However, my partner has, in the past, received questions if I was okay because I was so quiet. In one-on-one conversations, I do a bit better, as I have no choice but to talk to the other person. However, making small talk with someone I don't know very well is difficult for me. I just don't know what to say. This results in either periods of quiet or people asking me stuff, and me replying and ending with, "And you?" I have no problem sharing information about myself, even if it might be quite a bit personal. And during work-related meetings, I'm not afraid to say things, although I tend to be quieter in larger meetings, but that's also due to my lack of experience and knowledge in my current field. I think, in a sense, I'm afraid someone will be mad or think I'm weird because I asked a wrong question. But most often, I just have no idea what to say. Thank you and fuck you in the face. Gert, a.k.a. Cyberscoop, pronouns are he and him.
I didn't know that acronym.
Fuck you in the face?
Fucking you in the face, yeah.
Fucking you.
okay.
Fucking you in the face.
It's
an ice
it's an
cream
older one
social thing.
that said, like, instead of saying have a nice day on the phone, just like a nice casual sign off. Fucking you in the face.
Okay. I'll start signing off when I chat
Good.
with you guys.
Fucking
way.
you so gently in the face.
Oh my gosh. I had a client that dealt with this not too long ago. And it is challenging because I will share some of the suggestions I gave to them, but they still found it challenging.
It's
and I
so
get
hard.
it. I think with them it was maybe similar to the writer, but you kind of freeze up sometimes. Your mind just goes blank or empty. It's like even when we give suggestions or like try this or that or small talk, which I know a lot of people don't love. But if it's more comfortable for you to have small talk than not, even though you don't like small talk, it's like the lesser of two evils, then it's worth practicing. But the next challenge is once you get in the situation, you have to remember what the small talk was that you wanted to try and apply.
Yeah.
But usually I try and suggest to clients I work with like this to be curious. I'm like, just practice curiosity instead of worrying about yourself so much. Like, I'm going to sound stupid or it's it's a little bit self-centered of a view. More like, hey, who am I talking with? They are a person. They are a human. Like, what do you do for fun? Where are you from? Where are you from these parts? Like, do you live nearby? What's your address? No, I'm just kidding.
It's a list of your fears.
I know, right?
I've heard of the Ford
leave the
method
blinds
on asking
open.
questions. Have you heard of that?
Oh, no.
It's like this acronym FORD, but just ask questions about fun, occupation. I don't know what the R is, and then D is like dreams.
Yeah, I hate when, or I don't hate, this is a pet peeve when, and you hear this a lot from stereotyped as people from other countries saying this about Americans, how we will ask about a person's occupation.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and
And
that's
it's like,
not
oh my
common.
gosh, that's not good. You need, like, why are we always asking what someone does? And I'm like, because we do that like a lot of the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
And so it's kind of like asking, what do you do with your time?
What do you do for 8 hours every day?
No
Right.
shit. It's like
Or if
for
you're in
5
college,
days a week.
what's your major?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I just don't like that people
represents
criticize
choices
that.
you make. I'm interested in.
I
who
know.
you are.
It says more about you a little bit. Even if it's just, well, I have to go to this job to make ends meet. All right. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
fine.
Then tell me more. If
I'm
you're
a
like,
rock
oh, I
polisher.
work
What would
at,
you rather be doing?
I work at the grocery store. It's just a job. Like, okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Now I know more
Yeah.
about you.
Yes.
We're having a conversation.
Totally.
So I totally agree with that, Whitney. And actually, this may surprise some people, but I'm a bit of an introvert. So I don't
what?
like to- yeah, I know.
Not when you're holding that rock. Remember,
Okay.
that rock gives confidence.
Oh,
I-
you're looking at me like you got a story.
I do. I haven't told you this before. I probably shouldn't. But like Peter and I adore Nick. It's like, oh, he's so funny. He's this. Like all the ways that all of the pod therapy
Well, I'm curious
people know and love Nick for the same reasons.
I'm curious what this story that Whitney feels like she
Very
might-
excited.
maybe shouldn't say on the show is.
Yes.
No,
Keep
it's
it
not
going.
bad. Not that bad. I just was like, oh my gosh. So we invited Nick to a separate friend's house. We're like, oh my gosh, Nick and Laura. So they show up. We're like, great. We're like, he's hilarious. He's this and that. Well, Nick goes and stands in the corner or
Oh,
whatever,
yeah.
like just
Yeah,
him
yeah.
and Laura or whatever.
Yeah.
I think for a while he did kind of like hover in like the group. And there's probably like,
Yeah.
I don't know, 15 people. It's not like a giant party or
Right.
anything, but
Yeah.
it's like just that medium size that's like. And after he left, one of the people said, they're like, oh, like that boring guy, Nick. I was like,
Oh,
what? Peter and
nice.
I were so fucking offended. We're like, what?
How
And then you
dare
stopped
you?
and thought about it for a second. When yes, that
And
guy.
I was like, well, he doesn't shine in groups, all right? He's more one-on-one.
Once you're past
Actually, he's
five
not great
people,
one-on-one either.
That's
But,
really
but you know,
funny.
he has his moments.
Nick's
We were
group
so
capacity is
offended
about
for you. I was
5
like,
to 6.
fuck you. I was like,
Thank you.
no.
Once you exceed
yeah.
Thank you
5
for
to
having
6,
my
No,
back.
he's
He is
really
falling
funny.
into the
like,
background.
we're like,
No,
whatever.
Nick is someone. Now that I think about it, Nick is someone that like he will come to my house if there's a gathering at my house. He will come to my house and he will park somewhere
Yeah.
wherever is appropriate for that spot. You know, if we're watching a game, you know, he'll find a spot on the couch. If we're hanging out, like he might park at the bar, park outside, something like that.
In the
but
hot
that's,
tub.
But that's where Nick's going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
If
that's
you
the
need
spot.
Nick,
He's
there
over
he
there.
is.
I'm easy to find.
He's taking appointments in his office.
He's on that bar
which is
stool
this
at the
side
end
of the bar.
He's at the bar stool at the end of my bar.
Yeah.
It's right over there.
I know.
Which actually, okay, so this is interesting, and I'm glad I get to open up about
I'm
this.
using you as our case study.
Yes, and which is perfect. I'm
is.
totally cool with doing that because Jacob's parties in particular are like it's my little laboratory.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah.
it really is. Where I like because I've talked to a lot of people and it's a challenge every time.
Oh yeah.
Like I have to force
now you
myself
can
to
bring
do
your
it.
stone.
Yeah.
Self-confidence.
Self-confidence. I got it right here.
Yeah. Don't lose that rock, bro.
I'm rubbing a
Yeah.
hole through the stone. I'm
Squeeze
like,
the shit out of it. Get all the confidence.
So here's some tricks that have helped me. After this party.
Yeah,
that
This was
I haven't
many,
said-
many years
Okay,
ago.
good,
Yeah, so long ago.
No, but like I kind of really had to get through a lot of the introvertedness and a lot of the awkwardness when dating, like because that's really tough.
But
That's even easier than larger groups,
Right.
like 15. Because
You're
if
still-
it's one-on-one, I can have a conversation.
Well, you have to cold open once
Right.
on a date.
Exactly.
In a room.
Yes.
Oh,
Could be
that's
any
true.
number of
And then,
times.
I mean, we're usually naked within 5 minutes. Anyway.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
that it doesn't
If
doesn't
you
really
start
matter.
with sex, it's all
Yes.
a lot easier.
By then they've seen everything.
So what do you want to eat? Pancakes or something? I don't know.
So what I do is I've discovered people love talking about themselves.
Yes.
And you don't have to really offer anything in a conversation. If you just allow them the ability to talk about themselves,
Right.
you can go a long time into that conversation.
Just keep asking follow-ups.
Yeah. And so the follow-ups that I always ask are things like, oh, how did you get into that?
Right.
Oh, what's that like?
Right, yeah.
Or, oh, are there different types of blank?
Yeah, yeah.
And then you only need 3 questions, and then you just rotate between those 3.
You're a plumber. What on earth is that?
What kind of plumbing?
Okay. Honestly, with that, I'd be like, wow, how did you get into that?
Right, right.
Do you have a family member that does that? Is that how you did it take a long time to get training into that? Or did you just kind of jump right in?
What's the worst plumbing you've shown up to?
Yeah, like there's so many questions.
Yeah.
That
Is it really like the porno movies?
Yeah.
Do you always have sex with people, or
Do they always answer their
Have
lingerie?
you ever seen that episode of The Office where Andy, his first day of the job, he says he's going to win everybody over with his techniques, and one of them's like personality mirroring and asking like open-ended questions, and he's like doing it the whole time, and everybody in the office is like, I really like that Andy guy. Like even Kevin, like with Kevin, he's just like staring at like a jar, and so then Andy does it too, and he's like, it's a really great jar. He goes, it is a really great jar. And then it cuts to Kevin talking to the camera, and he's like, I really like this Andy guy.
That's nice.
But that, by the way, is a trick too, personality mirroring, which is not mocking people by imitating them, but reading them and just kind of giving back whatever they're giving to you. You know, like, that's fine. But I like your point about asking questions. Like, I really, and I appreciate what you said, Whitney, about how hard it is to train this.
Yeah.
So like I have a family member who has asked for some coaching on this, reached out to me and said, hey man, you're a therapist. I've struggled with this in my life. I'm trying to do better with this. Do you have anything for me? And I was like, man, this is hard. It's hard to teach. Like, I feel like if you give me a scenario, I could gym my way into that, not really using any therapy powers, just be me for a minute, and I could role play how I would do something, but I don't think I'm teaching you anything. I'm just doing something in front of you. Yeah. So then I bought a bunch of books. This is in the last couple of months. I bought a bunch of books on this topic. So like the classic How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
Yeah.
I bought one called How to Talk to Anybody About Anything. Another one's called like How to Have Any Conversation or something like that. And it just, these books, it's tough because even the books, a lot of times you read through it and you're like, gosh, it's kind of fluff. Yeah. Like it's really hard to get some great ideas. Questions
like
are always in there.
Yeah.
And there's like some good tips for regular social skills like personality mirroring, follow-up questions. But one of the things that I've been told is really helpful, and I might be wrong on this, but I've good authority. I've talked to several folks in the world who are sort of recovered introverts, and they swear improv did it. They joined improv.
I've heard.
And they learned how to do like the yes and stuff.
It fucking works.
And like they just learned how to give and take with this other person and read them and never let the show drop on their shoulders, right? So like whatever's going on, you're always adding to the scene and you're just volleying to your teammates. And I guess that muscle gets really worked in that setting.
Well, and it's like really specific. The whole purpose of you being there is just to practice that. It's not like go practice it in the real world and risk people laughing at or like making fun of you
and they're trying to just pitch each other bits all the time like I just bought a boat, and like that's the beginning of the scene. This is my new boat, and like now you're supposed to sit there, a person who's not comfortable with any of this, and think of something that volleys this conversation. You can't just be like, great. Oh great. Cool. I have a gun.
That's what I was thinking too.
Cool.
So maybe improv writer, that could be a good one, but it is a really hard skill to pick up, and it's very different one-on-one. And like the writer says, making that small talk, one-on-one, the writer says I can do okay with that. I think it's perfectly fine to be just on the quieter side.
I agree with
I think being a contemplative person. I also think it's interesting when people call you out on that. Like, that's always tricky, right?
Yes.
Because I've seen that happen where, they say, like, well, why are you so quiet? And I saw this
or they'll
Reddit
ask your
thread.
Partner, why
are they so quiet? So, like, in my trying to learn about how to teach somebody to do this, I found a really great Reddit thread that's just called Social Skills. And it's just people trading ideas and, cool. Really giving good feedback. And one of them was, how do I answer when somebody says to me, why are you so quiet? And people were giving their best answers like, well, what I do is I say, I really like to listen, or they had all these interesting like turns of phrases that they had practiced because it gets asked a lot.
Wow.
And that's, I don't know, man. Like, I have mixed feelings about it. Like, I get that you're
That's
going
a weird
to face
question.
it.
I feel like
It is
if
a
we're
weird
talking social
question.
skills, who's going around? Why
But
are
I
you
also
so quiet?
appreciate
I would
that-
just be like,
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about where to hide
just-
the bodies.
Yeah,
No
right.
shit. Yeah, like I've had the worst day of my life
I'm
when I
just
hear about it. And they're
farting
like, well, no. I'm
a
like, well,
lot.
you asked.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I didn't brush my teeth, so I don't want to say anything. She smell me. Yeah, but I get it. Like if somebody's really quiet and it's kind of like darkening the environment of this conversation. If I'm uncomfortable, there are people that are uncomfortable, and then we'll turn to you and go, "Are you cool? Like, what's going on?" I find it threatening that you're silent.
Sometimes, yeah, people ask, why are
It
you so
comes
quiet?
up.
Like, as I'm just worried, not worried, but like,
I think as
hey,
therapists, we are the least likely person to do that because
Yeah.
we are reading you and realize you're uncomfortable, and I'm not about to make you more uncomfortable. If anything, we'll just be kind to you.
Yeah.
And like, so just make friends with therapists. I think
Yeah.
that's really the advice.
you're doing it.
And if you want to see this live in action, come to Scoop Fest, May 9th
There it is.
through the
Approach
11th.
Nick. Approach
right.
Nick.
Yes.
Yeah, you
Approach me because I will not approach you.
Yeah,
Why are
we
you
will-
being so quiet?
be hiding in a corner
Please ask Nick. That.
next to all of our Funko Pops.
Feel free to ask Nick every time you see him, why the fuck are you being so quiet?
Why are you so
Poor
quiet?
Nick.
Yeah.
Hi, Nick. Why
I'm
are
not
you so
gonna
quiet?
go.
Yeah, I know. Just get you out of this right now. You'll be fine.
Just punch him right in the ass and ask him why he's so quiet.
Why are you being so quiet, girl? Great question. Good luck with this one, Cyberscoop. A lot of people relate to you. Check out that Reddit thread. I found a lot of really great resources there. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're talking about life going downhill since I quit my job to pursue my passion. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Ben, Don, Lilia, Richard Macy, Sunny Boy, University Jeff, Samantha Cone, Thunder, Cougar, Falcon, Scoop, Slippikai, Motherfucker, and Sandra McWaffle. And if you want to sponsor the show, you should head on over to patreon.com/therapy and sign up to become a producer.
Do it. Back to the brands guessing. Here we go. Your next set of 4. One of these is a brand. The rest are just products. And alphabetize them, Jim. Okay. Acetaminophen, aspirin, ibuprofen, naproxen.
Aspirin.
One for
say
aspirin.
it again.
Acetaminophen, aspirin, ibuprofen, naproxen.
I feel like I know this one.
Do, 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 do,
I'm
do, 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 do.
ibuprofen.
We got one for ibuprofen. We got one for aspirin. What's it going to be there, leader?
So
Why are you so quiet?
it's aspirin. What was the last one?
Naproxen.
I believe it's aspirin.
Final answer?
Final answer.
Yeah, because Advil is ibuprofen.
Yep.
Oh.
Tylenol is acetaminophen.
Yeah, Tylenol is acetaminophen. What was the last one?
Naproxen?
Naproxen is
That's
not a brand
I forget what that
name.
is.
I thought it's
Yeah.
the off-brand of
Yeah, aspirin is the
ibuprofen
brand.
or whatever.
I'm pretty sure it's aspirin.
Aspirin is
Yeah.
the brand name. That is not an
What's
actual
naproxen?
chemical.
Naproxen
Naproxen's just an-
sodium.
Yeah, it's another. It's.
I think it's
Oh,
like
is that like a
ibuprofen.
leaf?
I think it's a leaf. I think a leaf
Oh,
is
really?
naproxen.
I think it might be.
Yeah, little, yellow, different. Yeah, I think it's those. Next one.
A leaf, yeah. Naproxen is a leaf.
One of these 4 is a brand. Collar, cufflinks,
Oh gosh.
pockets, zipper. Collar, cufflinks, pockets, zipper.
Zipper is my guess.
Zipper's not a bad guess.
I'm just going for it. My gut instinct.
All right.
Collar,
Because I don't know it.
cufflinks, pockets, zipper.
I feel like cufflinks could be another one.
That was the one I was going for, either
Yeah.
cufflinks or zipper.
Boom, boom, boom,
It's wagering the lead on this
boom,
one.
boom, boom,
I'm going to go zipper as well.
Ah, shit, I'm going to zipper too.
Everybody's on zipper?
Yeah.
Yep.
Zipper is correct.
Yeah.
Woo woo. Last one in alphabetical order. Dumpster. A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I, K, L, M, N, P. Dumpster. Receptacle. Rubbish bin. Trash can.
Dumpster?
Dumpster. Receptacle. Rubbish bin. Trash can.
Ain't nobody putting a brand market on my dumpster.
Yeah.
Got my big old dumpster.
That dump in the trunk.
The dump truck. Dumpster, receptacle,
dumpster.
rubbish bin, and trash can. Which one is a brand?
I would eliminate receptacle right off the bat because
That's
Yeah.
a thing.
Rubbish bin is
A British thing.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah, those two are off of my list as well.
Yeah. I'm going to go dumpster.
I want to go with dumpster as well. What was the fourth one?
Trash can.
I can't imagine a brand
named
called Trash Can.
Well, trash. It's your
Dumpster.
trash. Like rubbish bin is like trash
Yeah.
can. So dumpster.
Dumpster is one word.
Yeah.
That'd be a good brand. I'm going dumpster.
Yeah.
I'll go trash can because I think they used to be called ash cans.
Oh shit. All right, I'm sticking with dumpster.
2 for dumpster?
Yes.
Dumpster is correct.
6 for 6.
Damn it.
Last 2.
What?
I'll just blow them all right now.
Nick has to
No.
go
No.
first on
What's
all of them.
Yep.
Fuck it, let's go.
And each of these are worth 1,000 points each.
These final 2 are worth 1,000 each?
Yeah.
Correct. And he gets
Let's go
1,000
for a
for
cool
saying
million.
that. Here we go.
1
You know
million.
what? Done. They're each worth a
Million
million.
apiece.
Run that shit up. Here we go. Last 2. Blouse, pajama, trouser, onesie. Also, they're probably out of alphabetical order. The alphabet's kind of hard.
I was definitely on pajama up until you said onesie.
Blouse, A, B, C, D.
I
Blouse.
believe it's onesie.
Okay. There's also pajama, trouser, and blouse.
All right, so Nick's locked in on Wednesday.
All in on
Whitney,
onesie.
let's talk about this.
Discuss.
I was on the same thought train as Nick. I was like, oh, pajama. And then onesie came up. I was like, "Arr."
Yeah. Man, I like onesie, but I can't pick with Nick.
I know.
Yeah. It's okay.
I
I'll
think
take the
$1
million by
pajamas.
myself.
I'll guess pajamas. I'm guessing
You're on
PJs.
pajama. And what's the others?
Trouser.
It's not
Blouse.
trouser.
Ooh,
It's
trouser.
not trouser.
I'll
it's
go
not blouse.
blouse. I'll go blouse.
The correct answer is onesie.
Damn.
Yeah.
Nick.
$1 million Nick. Last
on a roll.
one.
Worth 10 million points.
10 billion points. Escalator, fire escape, freezer, refrigerator.
Escalator.
Escalator, fire escape, freezer, refrigerator. One of them is a brand.
I'll go. Man, I think it's escalator. I'll go refrigerator.
Refrigerator was the other one I was thinking of because but Frigidaire is a brand.
Frigidaire is a brand, but refrigerator was also a made-up word that took the place of icebox.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking. Icebox.
So, like, it could just be that the original brand was refrigerator.
Yeah, it could
I'm
be.
going to guess freezer.
I feel like that's a solid
Yeah.
guess.
Freezer's solid.
Yeah, freezer's a good one. Nobody wants fire escape, huh?
Yeah.
Fuck y'all. Escalator was the correct answer. There you go.
Jeez, I gotta get out the
Man.
calculator. All
Get
these
it.
points.
I
know. Oh, my
That was-
God.
that was
Nick's won the
10
next
11
few.
million.
Embarrassment of riches, this guy. Oh, Lord.
Points do not carry over to the next game.
all points expire at the end of the show. Life going downhill since I quit my job to pursue my passion, from Anonymous. Hey there, therapist and life coach.
Hello.
My name is Danny, and I listen to y'all religiously from Lagos, Nigeria.
Starting a
wow.
religion? Like, are we
Wow.
starting a religion?
That's cool.
Yeah.
There's a flag on here, too.
There's some really good tax reasons to say yes to that question.
Yeah.
We need good text. Anyway,
You guys have been part of my routine for the last 2 years now,
Aw.
and I appreciate all the work y'all do. I found you guys on Spotify at a very low point in my life, and listening to you has given me a fresh perspective on therapy, and eventually ended up taking me to therapy last year.
Awesome.
Now to my dilemma. I quit my job in finance last year to pursue a different path in research and creative writing, which I was already doing on the side for about 3 years. I did draw up a plan on how I was going to make that career switch, so I tweaked my resume to reflect the requirements from the new path I was about to tread, included all my relevant experience in research and creative writing, took a course, and began applying for jobs consistently. It's been 8 months since I left my job, and I still haven't landed a job or even come close at any point to a second interview. They always say they would get back to me, but nothing ever comes out of it. And frankly, it's been affecting me mentally, and I'm slowly losing my self-worth because I'm starting to doubt if I'm good enough, or if I made a big mistake quitting a job I wasn't enjoying and didn't see myself doing long-term. Ironically, my girlfriend and I broke up, unrelated issues, right when I quit the job. And so, dealing with that has also been tough. I turned 28 later in the year, and I feel like a complete bum if I'm being honest. Fortunately, I've been getting little writing gigs here and there, but it's nothing to plan with at all, as some months nothing comes in. To make matters worse, I see my peers on social media, who we graduated college together, doing so well, and some even getting married and living abroad, and I'm home all day and still can't account for anything in my life, even though I worked in corporate for 5 years. Frankly, I'm ashamed of where I'm at in life right now, and my parents don't know I don't have a job because African parents won't just get it, so whenever they call, I just lie that I work from home on some days. As the first child, there's that pressure to be financially responsible and be able to cater for my younger siblings, but right now, I'm unable to fund any financial obligation in the family, and it breaks my heart. Unlike the US, we pay rent here yearly, so my next rent is not due until December, so every little penny I get right now goes to saving up for rent while trying not to starve. Some nights I cry and bemoan in disappointment because this wasn't how I thought my life would be at this stage in my life. Never shared this with anyone, actually, because I'm ashamed, but I'd really love to hear any tips you guys can share to help me get over this hump. Looking forward to y'all responding on the show. And Jim, I know we all give you a lot of shit, but you're actually my favorite. Love the show. My pronouns are he and him. Thank you. Oh, very nice.
To start with, social media is a picture that people paint of themselves that they want other people to look at.
Yeah, don't compare your insides to other people's outsides.
Yeah. So like that's just a whole that's its own thing. Like, yeah. If you're saying this is my entire life, you know what your entire life looks like.
Right.
And you're comparing it to like 8 pictures on someone's Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a good question.
It looks great in 8 pictures.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you chase the dream. It's been 8-9 months. The dream has not gotten funded.
Yep.
You're also not getting any traction here. And this is a hard one, right? Because I think we're all on Team Dream.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're on Team Survive.
Yep.
Sure.
And that's a tricky one. When do you pull the plug, guys? When do you say, you know what, maybe I need to get back into my old finance career and kind of dabble in this on the side again? I don't know. I don't want to break any hearts here.
So it's interesting because I was just on Instagram this morning looking at like reels and stuff that just randomly come up, and randomly
naked chicks,
this
mine too.
Episode of oh my god. What's
King of the Hill?
No, the radio host.
Howard Stern.
Howard Stern. Howard Stern had Neil Patrick
How
Harris
did you know he
on.
was thinking?
Radio
Speaks,
host.
Nick.
How many of them could there be?
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah,
radio.
exactly.
So I don't know
Radio?
any. Yeah.
So he had Neil Patrick Harris.
I didn't
on.
have a second option.
That was 100%.
So Neil Patrick Harris
Love him.
played Doogie Howser,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
NPH.
And
So-
How I Met Your Mother.
Yep. And so he was talking about, he was like 15 when he got hired for Doogie Howser. He was 16 when it started. They did 4 seasons. Okay. And so, Howard Stern was asking him about that experience and what was it like when that show ended and all this. And NPH was talking about, well, there was actually this other actor on the show. I think it was the actor that played his dad. He said he gave me some excellent advice, and he kind of compared it to surfing. And he's like, you have to understand, right now you are riding this wave, and this is a great wave, and you're crushing it. But this wave is going to end at some point, and you are going to have to decide what you're going to do, and you're going to have to start paddling back out, and you're going to be hit with all of this stuff, and it's going to keep coming, and you have to make a decision. Do you just say, okay, this is it. I rode this one wave. It was wonderful. I'm going to be done. Or do you just keep pushing through? And you're going to push through, and it's going to be calm waters, and nothing's going to be coming your way.
Oh, yeah.
And you're just going to have to be patient. You're going to have to wait, and some little waves are going to come, and you're not going to be able to ride those. You're just kind of have to wait for that one wave. And just the perspective that he took on that was kind of interesting, and just this idea that, like, some people they did their thing, they tried it, and like, okay, this isn't for me. It's not coming fast enough. I can't do this anymore, and they have to call it quits.
Yeah.
Other people will persevere through that, and they just kind of wait, and something finally happens. But it's going to take a long time sometimes.
Especially in the arts.
Well, yeah, Jacob, you've gone to colleges and talked about this.
Yeah.
And this is something that I think you relate to as an artist.
Of course.
Knowing all these people in the industry, their hearts are in it, and they have the potential to be great. And sometimes the fact that you're not getting callbacks really has nothing to do with your skill.
Of course.
And there's a lot of stories of people that just hung in there, and then the callbacks came, and holy shit, their career changed. But there's also a lot of stories of people that starved waiting.
And I mean, I know people like with Nick's story with Neil Patrick Harris. They had a super successful thing,
right?
They did one thing that was a live show or a film or a TV show or something like that, and they did that. And then they said, "I don't want to do that anymore. Yeah. I don't want to do all of that. I don't. If you keep with the surfing analogy, I don't want to start paddling back out."
Right.
And I don't want to start wave hunting again.
Yeah. Right.
I'm going to go back to school and do this other thing now.
Right.
And that can, singing or dancing or acting or performing or whatever it is, or art or, you pick something that can just be a hobby. That can just be this thing that I also do. I mean, this is a little bit in the same neighborhood with what we talked about earlier. Or was that on the show? I don't remember if it was on the show or not now. Introducing someone and saying like, what do you do for a living? Right. Kind of equating someone's job with their personhood. This is a little bit in that same area, and artists I think are very susceptible to doing this. Artists, I believe, are very susceptible to wrapping their personhood up in what they do. Mm-hmm. And man, when I talk to college kids, when I do those types of gigs, that's something that I just preach against. Say, this can be great. This art, this whatever it is you're doing, this can be a really great thing. It can be a profession. It can be a hobby. Whatever it is, it can be so fucking great. It can also hang you out to dry.
Right.
And so I always suggest to people, if you are interested, thinking about a career in the arts, I always say to people, kind of callously, if you can do something else and make the art your hobby, that makes for a much easier life.
Yeah.
And I suggest, and the reason I say that you have to kind of divorce your personhood from what you're doing for that living, if you say, for instance, if you're an actor, you say, I'm an actor. Well, in order for you to say that, in order for you to proclaim, I am an actor to your friends, to your coworkers, to your colleagues, to your peers, whoever it is, what do you have to have in your own mind to be able to say that truthfully to people? Do you have to make your living as an actor? Or I make my living as an accountant. But I do shows at the community theater. I am an actor.
Right.
I volunteer my time and I do shows that, 100, 200, 300 people come and watch at a time. And man, I love it. Yeah. I am an actor. I mean, and for the writer, I don't know. It's really tough. I mean, because at some point you got to live.
Yeah.
You gotta make that living somehow.
Puts a lot of pressure on you.
And like if you want to be the person who is scraping it together, if that's worth it to you.
Yeah.
And to some people, it just is. And we don't know you personally. But I mean that's kind of what I tell these students is if you can't think of anything else you can do to make this living, okay. Then go be this artist.
Yeah.
Go do this thing. And good luck to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what struck me, and this kind of touches on what you were just describing by talking to those students, Jacob, is what the expectation was. When we set expectations for when the writers started this journey and said, all right, I'm going to quit my job. I had a plan.
Yeah.
That tells me you had an image of like how this was going to go down.
Yeah.
And I've tweaked my resume, and in your mind, within so many months, you were going to have a job doing something you loved.
You have spoken to experts. You have set your expectations on what they're going to be.
And you've done everything.
Yeah.
You did everything you could, but that vision in our mind, that expectation was there, which expectations are what lead to disappointment.
Yes.
And so when I hear you say that, you know, you cry in your room, that hurts my heart for you. I'm so sorry that you're there. What stuck out to me was just that the expectation was set, and the disappointment is falling right now, and that leads you to feeling like a failure. It doesn't mean that you are a failure, because our feelings are not facts, but maybe adjusting that expectation and then kind of what Nick was sharing.
Giving yourself permission, and I love this word expectations, giving ourselves permission to reevaluate a strategy.
Absolutely.
Right? Because you're underway. I love that. I love a ship in motion because those are easier to steer. And I think right now you're looking at this and going, okay, I have like 9 months of data, right? And so it could just be if I keep playing the lottery, eventually I'll get a winning ticket. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say that's a wrong strategy, because it certainly does work sometimes.
Strategy.
It is a thing. It might not be a sustainable strategy, right? So like for me, I currently own a private practice. It's something I wanted to do, but that is not where I started. When I started, I went and worked at like the mental health factory.
Yep.
That was like the state-run program off in the middle of the wilderness, working with a very difficult population in a thankless job for low pay. And like I did that and I grinded that out, and I slowly built a private practice on the side in my nights and weekends. And like one by one, I would treat my patients in private practice. I would borrow other therapists' offices because I couldn't afford my own. I would, make a deal where they'd be like, okay, give me $20 and you can like use my office for a day. And like I would run my little practice and slowly build up my reputation, and day by day just kind of do that. And then eventually, over time, I worked my hobby job, my passion job, to the point where it finally eclipsed my regular job. And I'm a big fan, if you have a passion or you have something you're really interested in, I'm a big fan of developing that on the side while you still have a primary mean of income and a primary profession. And eventually that secondary job or passion, if you keep feeding it long enough, I want it to get to the place where if you continue to do job A, you're losing money.
Yeah.
Or it's not making sense anymore. Mm-hmm. I have the same rules with like buying a boat. Like every time my spouse comes to me every couple of years, she's like, let's go get a fucking boat.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, we will go rent a boat. And she's like, no, we should buy one because then we could use it all the time. I'm like, nope. Here's what we're going to do. I will rent one as often as you ask. Yeah. No, I will
anytime
not
we want to go get a boat.
Top price. And if there's a premium because it's a weekend or it's the nice boat, fine, I'm going to pay it all. Whatever it is, I'm pay the gas fees, everything, buy the insurance. I will do this so many times.
You got to pay the mileage on those too, right?
I was just going to say you'll do this, but not like do anything else. Okay.
I will rent that boat 50 fucking times.
So hard.
And when we get to the point when I've rented that boat so many times that it would have been cheaper to buy a boat, now I will buy a boat because apparently I rent boats so often that I would save money in year 2. Yeah. Right? And so that's the same rule I have with a lot of these things. I don't know that I like the strategy.
By the way, don't buy a boat.
Never buy a boat. That's just
unless you're friends with me and want to take me out on a boat.
Yeah.
Then buy a boat.
Was that the happiest day of your life is buying the boat and selling the boat?
Yeah, if we all go in on a boat, then that's financially smart.
Yeah.
It's an appreciating asset.
Yeah.
Especially in a place
not to buy a boat.
I mean, if there's one thing I think of with Nevada, it's lots of water forever.
Yeah.
So I think that boat thing's a great idea. Yeah. I don't love the strategy of the all-in mentality. Because I think it's been romanticized. In a lot of movies, it's like, you know what, you just got to believe in yourself, Johnny. You got to quit your job, move to L.A., and go all in on becoming an actor.
Well, I will push back a little bit on that.
On the all in?
Yes.
Okay.
Because it's great in the situation like that, where in your situation it worked out. You were able to
incrementally build it. Yeah.
But there are some professions where you can't do that.
Yeah, right. That's true.
I acting is one that I think of right away in the sense that, you could do community theater, but like, I know Laura has like done like some acting stuff, but like she'll get like a call like, hey, we need somebody tomorrow.
Right. Right.
Okay. Well, and that's,
we need somebody in a different city.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
And you're going to be on set for up to 8 to 10 hours.
Right.
Like, okay, well, I've got a full-time job. So I have to say no to that.
Yeah.
I also, at this bachelor party that I went to a couple weeks ago, it was a 2-day golf tournament basically. And I talked to a guy who at one point had gone pro and he was a professional golfer. Like, that's another thing too. Like, if you're going to do that, you can't do it as a part-time job.
Yeah.
Like, because it's work.
Which is a good,
every day.
I like that example
and you're doing
because that point too. I think if you're going to take on something that's like a passion project, you're going to say, this is my new full-time job. treating it like a full-time job before you get paid to do it, which means I think if you're a creative writer, write every day. Write a lot every day. Hone your craft. This is your job. If this is really what you do, you should be applying every day like it's a full-time job. And I think doing your craft every day like it's a full-time job. I don't think it's safe to just say, I'm going to apply for these things and then wait for somebody to get me, and I'm quitting my day job while I await the next thing. That makes me queasy.
There is something in the arts, too, about we're very good at teaching artists, potential artists, blooming artists, whatever. We're very good at teaching people kind of like, here are ways to do this art. Here are ways to, creatively to be a writer. Here's ways to kind of like zhuzh your creative juices in such a way that you can really sit down and put yourself in that good headspace. And now you're in your writing mode. We're not so good at, because there's not a great answer to it, frankly. We're not so good at teaching people how to do that money-making side of it. That's a lot harder, and honestly requires some degree of luck as well.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's less luck than people make it out to be. It's more skill and less luck than people make it out to be. Weirdly, the people who are super prepared and super on top of things always seem to get luckier than the people who aren't.
Very odd.
But yeah, I mean, there is something to that. It's like, how do I want to monetize this? How do I want to move forward? Do I want to move forward in this way that other people have done it, or do I want to do it a different way? And frankly, there's not a terrible answer to it.
It's tough either way. And I agree with what Nick said. There definitely are professions that in order to give them an honest try, you really do have to have the absence of other things. And that the acting thing is a perfect example. That's why there is the trope in the West Coast of the person who is like bussing tables or whatever, or driving for Uber while they're waiting for their break. And then like every week they're showing up to all these auditions and they're always like writing scripts.
You can't be an accountant and a part-time actor.
Right.
Yeah. You need a job that you can just call in and say, hey, I need somebody to fill in for me, or I got an acting.
Now, in the writer's case, though, I get the vibe that the writer is sitting in silence and is saying, like, I am sitting here doing nothing with my life. And all I'm doing is hitting, apply, and nobody's giving me a shot. I'm doing some creative writing gigs that are not doing much, just a little here's and there's.
Even if you can connect with other writers, I think,
I think that's huge. I mean, honing your craft is a good use of time, but I feel like if you've given it this try and it's stalled, I don't want you to give up, but I want you to supplement it. And sometimes I think that's what you're really doing. You're working your job, like whatever that job is. You're driving for Uber, you're delivering pizzas, you're working in finance. You're working this job to finance your other career that you really want to take seriously.
The other thing that I just thought of too is like, the writer is talking about, other people in his career, or other people in, his other profession, like they're set, they're making money, all this other stuff. But I think you need to kind of remind yourself and kind of remember that, like, the way that they look at you, they don't look at you as a failure, I don't think.
Right.
I think what they're doing is they're probably looking at you and saying, oh, look at so-and-so. Oh, he's doing his thing that he loves to do.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm stuck here in the office.
Yeah, definitely.
Sure. And you kind of start to feel like you're a prisoner. I don't think that they're always necessarily looking at, but how much money is he making?
Good point.
I don't think they're looking at that. I think they're looking at like, he gets to do something he loves.
Yeah. The cultural piece is really difficult too.
I was going to touch on that too. And just the natural, I think this is through a lot of cultures, being the oldest and having that responsibility of feeling like you're the one who has to care for your parents when they're older, to provide for younger siblings, to be responsible, and then adding in that cultural factor that really puts that pressure on and that expectation. Again, kind of goes back to expectations, and those are hard to break free from. And I would really try and meet my client where they're at in that situation. Like, is that important to you, and how important is that? Because some people try and break free from some cultural expectations, but others really want to live up to those.
Yeah.
And that's okay too. So, I mean, it depends, writer, like, what is the most important thing to you? Is it writing and living your dream per se? Right. Or if you feel that strong obligation to your family, then what we've already touched on, you may have to.
And I don't necessarily, I want to believe there's a road here where these are not mutually exclusive, but there is a practical and difficult way to obtain some amount of them. Because I think sometimes when we talk about my dream job, that trope, that concept is very black and white. Either you're really doing it and you're earnestly, with all your baby heart, just believing and really living in this faith and you're going to go out and achieve it, or you've forsaken it and you're over here really working a job and looking out the window and thinking,
Soulless.
my God, I've sold my soul for this money. And like, I just don't think that it has to be that black and white. I think there are a lot of people who had other kinds of employment, other kinds of like ways to make the money and pay the bills, while they also cultivated a special skill or a special project or an art or something else and took shots at that and built up a portfolio in that and like eventually got their gigs and then started saying, okay, these gigs are checking out. I want to be a professional musician. Okay, I got to be able to buy a guitar. So I better go get a real job, get this first.
Actually, do you know how much fun it is for me when I am at like I run these big shows in Vegas. They're not my shows though. These are my, the podcasts that I do. These are my shows. This one less so, but the ones that I own, those are there. And it is so much fun for me at these shows when I'm putting on other people's shows.
Oh yeah,
to talk to people. When they're like, yeah, you do this other thing, right? What is this other thing?
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. Like, yeah, I do this weird thing.
I'm a podcaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do this weird podcasting thing.
And amateur male model.
Amateur.
Semi-pro.
I am more professional than any of those motherfuckers. I'll tell you that right now.
I follow the ethics. I don't talk politics on set. No.
I have seen his poster in so many men's rooms.
I know. Yeah. So
amateur,
good.
my ass.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is, because I mean, this is, doing podcasting is definitely my other thing. That's definitely my other gig. I don't make as much money doing that as I make doing my real gigs, my big gigs, running shows, that kind of thing. And it's a blast to be able, like, I have this other thing that I do that I don't hate or anything. Like, it's not like it's not laborious to go in to work for me or anything like that.
Suck your soul.
No. Not always. Sometimes.
Sure.
Because it's not my thing.
Right.
Like, when I do it perfectly, I'm doing something for someone else.
Right.
I'm making money for someone else.
Yeah.
I get paid what I get paid, but unless I'm working on a percentage, which it happens sometimes, but it's more rare than just doing it for a fee. I'm making money for someone else. I'm making them look better.
Right.
But I have this other thing that I can point at and say, like, I got this other thing over here too.
Yeah.
Like, there's not.
I think you can fund the passion project with the other work. And I think you can actually reframe the finance job or the whatever you call it, job A, as, oh no, I just do that to fund
You're not what
my
you
creative
do for
writing.
a living.
Yeah, I intend to pursue creative writing, but I do this in order to have that option. I think that's a real approach.
I actually just watched, I was watching a YouTuber the other day who referenced like a different YouTuber who made more doing YouTube than they did in their day job, but they kept their day job, well, I think for like the insurance and then just stability, because they're like, you never freaking know. You never know. It's when you are doing any kind of work that is unstable, especially in the creative arts. Why not?
Like, I could survive podcasting.
Sure.
I could live basically in the same lifestyle that I do now by podcasting. That's not true. Close. I'd be fine.
Scrape by, yeah.
Maybe a few less soirees a year.
That's it.
Yeah.
But I'd be perfectly fine. I don't, because what Whitney was just saying.
Yeah.
I've got my insurance goes through that, my retirement goes through that. There's all the, but I mean,
makes it more enjoyable to podcast and not a stress. Like,
yes, which is a huge piece of this.
Of course. But I mean, like, it's a job. It's not my life.
Right.
Yeah.
I go in, I do my job, I do it well, I do it as best I can. I try to be pleasant while I'm there. I try to make other people's days, a little bit nicer if they're working around me. Like, you're gonna hopefully you'll have a nice time working around me. You'll enjoy working around me. Hopefully, the same is true, vice versa.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's a gig. That's not who I am. That's not what I do.
And I think we have to embrace that.
All right, sorry, that is what I do. It's not who I am.
There it is. Like, if jobs were fun, they wouldn't have to pay you to be there.
Right.
And so you get paid to be there. And, there's always a middle ground here, writer. I mean, it isn't like, again, it isn't this black or white thing. I have to quit my finance job completely in order to truly pursue the creative writing. There could be something where it's like, could you take a part-time job?
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Could you step it down? Could you say, hey, I have to quit the part-time or the finance job because it's only available full-time, but I'm going to start doing a part-time job, and then with the other half of my time, I'm going to pursue creative writing.
Or even some contracted financial work.
Yeah, just doing some kind of reiteration of this where, okay, you know what, maybe the full-time one is squashing too much of my time. I'm too tired. I can't write.
Or I hate working for this firm.
Yeah, I just hate that company. And it's time
I've
for me
not
to
had a good
spread my
experience
wings.
there. Yeah.
Cool.
Great.
I like half measures. I like moderated approaches toward big fat change, especially with professional life, because it's very rare that you can just stand up and tell everybody, I'm an actor now, hire me, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, here's a bunch of selfie videos of me acting. Like, you can't get your foot in the door to build up that first portfolio. And the writer seems to be having that exact struggle, not getting those first gigs to really build a portfolio to say, look, they've tweaked their resume. They're trying to show like, look, I'm highlighting the things that might appeal to people, but I'm not getting opportunities. Well, you might have to fund by yourself with a job your own creative pursuit, your own passion project. I had to fund my practice. And for a long time, my practice lost money, because I had to eventually get an office
Like
and a
businesses.
website.
Open
and
a podcast studio. We
get a
lost
CPA.
money.
Yeah, I had to do all these forward advances in order to build a practice. So I had to go work 2 jobs sometimes to make sure that the practice didn't die so that I could eventually, hope to get into that full time. But it took years. It took a really long time.
Still working on it. I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
I know. Any
I'm just
day now,
joking.
it's going to be profitable. You wait. Any day, I'm going to quit my OnlyFans and go into this therapy thing full time.
Oh, don't quit it. Your
Well,
fans count on you.
Yeah.
They do.
They're your only fans.
They
And
are.
apparently, this writer is your biggest fan.
Yeah.
They
Which
sub.
I feel like we need to talk about, but
Hey,
We don't trust
maybe
your
that's
judgment.
another show.
let them live. Writer, great question. Good luck with this. It's such a passion, and I respect that. I love that you're pursuing it, and at the same time, I want you to be able to pursue it in a way that is fulfilling and achievable.
Yeah.
And that's, if we're telling you to go back to work or get any other job, it's not us telling you to get away from your dream. It's telling you to find a road that leads to your dream, that makes it sustainable and achievable.
Because the road you're on right now doesn't seem like it's doing it.
If you're stuck, you're stuck. It's okay. We take a deep breath. We learn from the experiment.
You
we
tried
try
that
a different
path?
idea.
Yep.
That's it.
And you're not what you do to make a living.
That's right. Your
I can't
identity is
harp
not
on that enough.
Yep. Open an OnlyFans.
If you feel like you're a writer, then you're a writer.
Side
Be a
gig.
writer. You make money doing
Be
things,
free.
and
Be
you're
free.
also a writer.
Yeah, you said you got a few little gigs, little writing gigs. So.
You know that there are. Sorry.
I have no idea what song
I don't
you're
know what
singing.
song
As
that
we
is
wrap up
either.
the
I
show,
thought I
we want to
would.
remind you that if you sign up at patreon.com/therapy, you can get the extended show ad-free, a day
Lifehouse.
early, as well as enjoy our live chat Discord community and our weekly deep dives, interviews, skill shares, research roundups, and rants. And we've got some new people to welcome to the Theraparty. Who's new in our lives, Nick?
Completely new. Never heard of these two before at all. I have no idea who they are. Jim and Manu.
New Therodactyls.
Hey!
Welcome, new Therodactyl strangers, whoever you are. They may also be the mayor and first lady, not in the order that you think, of our Discord community. So we love them. And we do like our benevolent, revered, generous, and flagrantly pro-therapy diehards who love you all so much. They give till it hurts. The Therapartners. Thank you, Dirty B, Myra, and Pickett. And we want to thank our bosses, the mysterious and shrouded Illuminati members of the fan club, the Theraproducers. Thank you, Jake Schneider, Robert Brownie, Jr., Mint, Smitty, Scoop, Ben, Don, Judy Schneider, Kayla Lansbury, Mrs. and Mr. Hot Dog Scoop, Malia, Leon Kassab, Mason Miller, Richard Macy, Carolyn Albert, Kevin Chamberlain, Tess Miller, Sammy Scoop, Ben Stanley Slap in Your Face, Sarah Smith, Adam Hathaway, Byler T, University Jeff, Mike Helm, Paris, Samantha Cohn, Darren Cunningham, Lib, Team Monaco, Thunder Cougar Falcon Scoop, Matt and Lisa Tangeman, Heyo, Oscar Swanrose, A Sunny Boy, Slippery Kaye, Motherfucker, Sandra McWaffle, Dan Martin, and Hannah Marie.
If you would like to hear this episode uncut and unedited,
and why wouldn't you?
And enjoy our spontaneous side projects, go to patreon.com/therapy. And thank you for supporting mental health.
That's all the time we got for this week's session. Want to thank our landlords, Matt Mattingly's Ice Cream Social Podcast. And thanks to those of you who contributed to our show today. We really appreciate it. Remember, Pod Therapy isn't something to keep all to yourself. Share the episode with the world. Tag us on the socials. When you do, it's usually at Pod Therapy, guys. Sometimes it's /Pod Therapy. I'm sure if you look hard enough, you'll find us. And also, don't forget about all the extra goodies at patreon.com/therapy.
Do you want to submit a question to the show? Ask anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. I'm Nick Tangeman.
I'm Whitney.
I'm Jim.
Thanks, and we'll see you for your appointment next week.
Bow, bow. Hey, did you get me t-shirts?
Oh, did you want one?